I did zero pushing. There was never a thought to push at all. It was just contractions happening on its own. There was no conscious pushing. It was just, I wasn't in control. Whatever was happening on its own magically. There was one point I kind of became more lucid and I was like, oh no, I need to poop. I started to beeline towards the door and then I was like, wait, I couldn't move my legs because the fetal ejection reflex had started and her head popped out immediately and my husband was on the phone and he's like, well, I think her head is out.
Wow. Hey mamas, welcome back to the Pain-Free Birth podcast. Today I am interviewing Pinsi Lei, a mom of 3 from New York City, who is a business coach for women entrepreneurs and has been in the women's empowerment space since 2012. Today she's sharing with us her unintentional, unassisted home birth and her first home birth and also an call home birth. So I am stoked to hear this message. You guys are in for a treat. This has so many twists and turns. You're going to absolutely love it. So Pinsi, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's surreal talking to you because I listened to your podcast like throughout the entirety of my pregnancy.
Was that your main birth preparation for this birth?
Oh yeah, it was just your podcast.
So ladies, listen up. This is what can happen when you binge the Pain-Free Birth podcast. You are in the right place. I love it. I'm hearing so many stories about this of women who are just starting from the beginning, binging the whole thing, or like they are just ravenously consuming this podcast in their pregnancy. And that brings me so much joy because here are the fruits of that labor of love. Pinsi, how did you prepare your mindset for birth?
One big takeaway I had from your podcast was learning about the fear, tension, pain cycle. And that stuck with me so much. And I was like, well, if I don't feel fear, then I won't feel any tension, then I won't feel pain. I would repeat that phrase to myself so much throughout the day, just doing daily life with my kids. And I remember one particular day I decided to go out on a walk and it was cold and rainy in the spring. And I hate being outside when the weather is not ideal. All my friends know this. It's just my personality. If it's not perfect weather, I'm not going outside.
You live in the wrong state, my friend.
And I was like, if I can't handle the weather, how can I handle my contractions? So I put on a rain jacket and went out for a walk in the like freezing cold rain. And I remember my neighbors looking at me like I was crazy. They're like, do we acknowledge her? Do we not wave at her through the window? It's like 41-week pregnant woman walking down the street in the rain. And the whole time I was like, no fear. I'm not going to fear the elements. I'm not going to tense my body, even though like it's windy and it's rainy and it's freezing cold. And I'm just not going to feel like the pain of the weather around me. And I did that a lot. I would go on walks when the weather was not to my liking and just repeat no fear, no tension, no pain, and like practice the radical letting go in the crazy elements.
Wow. And did that work once you were in labor?
I think so. Yeah. I think like being able just to connect all those dots repeatedly leading up to labor helped so much.
Yeah. No fear, no tension, no pain. That's it, girl. That you summed it up. You talked about when you first went into labor. First of all, you went to 42 weeks, which is not common. And were you nervous about that? Were your midwives nervous?
Felt a little bit of pressure from the midwives to drink the brew starting from 41 weeks. Like by the time I hit 41, they were like, okay, whenever you want to drink the midwives brew, like now is a good time. I wasn't nervous. I was like in complete trust of my body. It's like things will happen. The baby won't stay in there forever. Like she will come out when she's ready. And I think when all the pressure eased off, that's when she decided to come. So like I took that pressure off of myself. Then she came.
And did you take the brew?
I did take the brew at 42 weeks at like 6 p.m. and she came at 42 plus 1.
Wow. So it worked.
It worked immediately. I think I took it at 6 p.m. and I had already started having contractions days leading up to that day. And I was like, oh, this is just another day of evening contractions, like what I had been having for the whole entire last week.
Yeah. So how do you know, like, if they're real or if they're just the same prodromal labor contractions or Braxton Hicks?
They basically continued progressing, which didn't happen the previous nights.
Right. So you took the brew. Was it gross? I've heard so many different opinions and I know there's women who've probably considered taking it. They always ask me, should I do it? Should I not? I'm like, well, it beats Pitocin. Like if that's your
Oh, yeah.
last resort, do it. What was in the one you took?
It tasted great. It tasted like an almond butter smoothie. Like it was sweet and nutty. So there was
what other ingredients were in it for those
definitely
wondering?
castor oil, like
Yeah.
a tiny bit, a ton of almond butter. There was something called vervain, like this little dropper tincture that's supposed to help with anxiety and stress. There was
I
a lot
haven't
of
heard of
apricot.
that.
Yeah. There was also a lot of apricot nectar, which I think added a lot of sweetness to it.
Okay, that helps it go down smoother. I love it. So interesting. Apricot, almond butter, castor oil. I can see how that would not be terrible. And it worked. It was effective. So it did its job. Now, did you go that far with your previous two births?
No, the previous two came at 38 weeks on the dot on their own.
Oh, wow. So you were a full month later with your third. What was that like mentally for you?
I think I checked out by like 37 weeks. I was like, okay, she's coming any day now. And every day I had like a group of girlfriends texted me, is she here yet? Because we all thought she would come by 38 weeks.
For 5 weeks, you're thinking any day now. Any day. Were you just like losing your mind by 42 weeks? Or had you just like stopped counting by then?
I stopped counting. I like gave up on the waiting. I was just like, whatever happens, happens. Tried the whole relaxation, like no fear, no tension, no pain that you repeat a lot in your podcast. But that helped a lot.
How much of it do you think was your own anxiety contributing to not going into labor? Or do you think something else was going on? Or this was just when your baby was ready?
I think there was definitely some anxiety because at 42 weeks, when I finally decided to drink the brew, right beforehand, I had this like little breakdown of like, we're no longer going to be a family of four. Like, what are my boys going to do? Like the whole dynamic is going to change. And I didn't even know I was holding on to that up until then.
Wow.
I think
that's
once
so
I decided, to drink the brew, then like everything came out.
Wow. I love that. Those emotional releases are so powerful and really do change your physiology to like allow your body to let go of that emotional burden and actually release. And then the oxytocin can start and then the contractions can start. It like the body is so wise. Like it knows, wait a second, we gotta offload this before we can be free to really go into labor. And then once it happened pretty fast, huh?
It did happen really quickly. I ignored the contractions for as long as I could up until the very end.
What was your main coping mechanism for contractions?
In the beginning, it was if I don't acknowledge it, then I won't feel the pain. Like I was afraid once I named it as pain, it would be pain. So I put it off until the last 40 minutes when I could no longer not think about it. I think I like cleaned the house, set up the guest bathroom, like made sure all the snacks were in place for the midwives and the doula.
So you're just not focusing on it. You're just going about your day. Like, you know what? If we don't make a big deal out of it, it won't be a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And what did your husband say when you were doing all of this? Was he like, hey, are you in labor?
Was late. He was in bed. I think he was in bed by like 10 p.m.
So you're like stress cleaning the house while he's in bed snoring.
Yeah. Yep.
Hilarious. Oh my gosh. At what point did you call the midwives?
Too late is the point that we called the midwives.
So that's even later. That's even later. So you mentioned pain was a figment of my imagination, and that actually helped the fear and the pain like disappear. Why is that? What was going through your mind at that exact moment?
There was this like pull and tug of fear coming in and me trying to push fear out. And it kept happening during this one part of labor. And I was like, this is not going to fly. I feel like I could hear your voice in my head. I was like, this is not how I want this to go. So I just said to myself, like, pain is just a figment of my imagination. Like, it's not real. And then it was instantly the pain went away during a contraction. And I was like, oh, that worked. Let's do that again.
Wow. Wow. That's the power of your mind and your mindset. Oh my gosh. Were you surprised when that happened?
I was so surprised. I think I was like deer in headlights to my husband. I couldn't vocalize it, but I was like trying to channel it to him, like something is working. Like I can do this on my own.
Oh, I love it. At what point did you wake him up? Because you said he was sleeping.
He was sleeping. I woke him up to call the midwives around like 1 a.m. And then the baby was here before 2 a.m.
Oh my gosh. So like, how long was active labor?
I don't even know what part that was because I think I active labored on my own. Like, I don't know.
Okay. You were just doing your own thing. So what did
Yeah,
that look like? Were you in bed? Were you on a birth ball? Still cleaning? Like what were you
still
doing?
cleaning. I
Really?
knew I started timing my contractions around midnight and I knew it was every 3 minutes. So I would do my own thing for 2 minutes. Then I'd look down and be like, okay, it's coming. Let's pause. Let's like take some deep breath, wait for it to come and go, and then do the next thing.
That's a great rhythm. Like when women find their rhythm in labor, whether you're cleaning, whether you're rocking on a birth ball, whether you're swaying in the birth tub, sweeping, like brushing your hair, whatever it is, like that rhythm is so helpful to your body and your hormones. And when you can find that, it's like labor just like clicks into gear and it goes smoother. So were you just like cleaning until this baby decided to like emerge?
Basically, I was like, okay, I have 2 minutes to go downstairs to get the toilet paper, refill it. Let's do that. Wait for a contraction to come. That's over. Now let's walk up the stairs to get a snack. Wait for a contraction. Okay, now let's eat the snack.
I love this. I love like the internal dialogue that's happening in your brain. It's like all these things happening in the middle of the night, husband sound asleep, and you're just like getting it done, girl.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of vocal, were you loud? Were you quiet? Like how were you vocalizing at any point?
I think I was trying to stay low in my body because I remember hearing from your podcast, like low sounds help open the pelvic floor and just keep everything relaxed. So in my mind, I just kept saying, stay low, stay low. And that song that I would hum, I started it really low. Like it was like a really low guttural hum.
What song were you singing? And how did that help?
It goes like, I love you, Lord, and I lift my voice. Do you know that one?
Yes, it's like an old school Christian summer camp song. Like that brings back
Super
so
old.
many memories. Oh my gosh, I have like deja vu right now. It's crazy. Like I remember that song.
And
Oh,
that
what a beautiful
song,
song.
it magically timed with my contraction. So by the middle of the song, I knew I had peaked at the contraction and the rest of the 30 seconds would just be like cruising and tapering off. And I knew
Wow.
if I could just get through the first half of the song, I was fine.
Wow. Are you like vocally trained? Like, are you a singer?
I did a little bit in high school, not really, but I played instruments.
Yeah. So this was like just a comforting, like familiar thing for you.
Hmm. Yeah.
Amazing. What mantras did you use to get through some of these contractions other than the
I
singing?
printed out so many things. And in the moment, I'm even going to show you, like in the moment, I couldn't look at any of the mantras. I was like, these are all too much for me and pissing me off. I even told my husband at one point, like, I need to hear your voice so I can kind of get out of my own head. And I was like, read the mantras. And he started reading. I was like, no, stop reading the mantras. Just pray. Like the only thing he could do that didn't piss me off was to pray.
Oh my gosh. So he was just pissing you off at a certain point in labor.
Oh yeah.
That's a good sign you're in active labor, ladies, when everything pisses you off. So he started praying for you. How did that shift things?
I think when he was just reading the mantras, it felt so empty, like there was no power behind it. And the second he started praying, I could feel more power coming towards me. Like the words actually mattered.
Wow. What was the biggest difference between your hospital births and this one that made it not as painful?
I think being at home the only person I focused on was me, I could just kind of turn inwards and completely be present and not be distracted. So I do have social anxiety, which I've learned recently in therapy, that like when I am around a lot of people, I can't not think about what everyone else is thinking about. And I think that's also why I didn't call the midwives until it was too late, because I knew even if they were on their way, that would stress me out. Like I didn't even want to know that they were on their way.
Yeah. I think a lot of women can relate to this. And it is proven like that when people come into your birth space, whether you're in a hospital or at home, it does disrupt your physiology. It can stall labor. It happened to me in a home birth, and I love my midwives. But when they all came, my labor stopped for 30 minutes. And that's not uncommon, especially probably even more so if you have social anxiety. It creates a bit more of that anxiety, those stress hormones being released. So it's interesting. You intuitively knew that, even though you probably weren't conscious that you were avoiding calling them, but you knew like, I just want to have my private space and do what I'm doing. Did you ever consider free birth because of that?
I did actually. I think somewhere in the back of my mind, I had always wanted to free birth. And I definitely didn't tell my midwives this. I did tell my husband.
We just keep some of those things to ourselves.
Yeah.
What did your husband say about that? They knew?
A week before, I told my husband, like, what if we just free birth this? Because I was 41 weeks already. And I was like, I think we can do this. My husband's a volunteer fireman, so he's used to the idea of catching babies. He's never caught one before, this one. But he was like, yeah, like we can, if you're okay with it, I'm fine. Like, let's do it. So I was like, okay, we're going to free birth. But when my midwives eventually came, one of them, they were a pair. One of them was like, I knew you would do this. Like, I knew you wanted to free birth.
She had that midwife's intuition. This girl's going to go before we get there. I just know it. Yeah, they're smart. They know what's going on. So tell us how this all went down, because this is like 40 minutes of active labor. Baby comes before they get there and call. What went down? Why did you finally call the midwives?
So I woke up my husband, I think at like 1:15 a.m. and I woke him up to call the midwives. He was so slow to wake up, as he normally is. He like sits up slowly, and I was like, okay, I think the contractions are real now. Call the midwives. He slowly sits up in bed, and I was like, no, they're real. Call the midwives now. Like, it's coming. Baby is coming.
Chop, chop. How far apart were they when you realized they were finally real? Were you in denial? Yeah.
They were a minute and a half apart when I stopped.
Wait. So were you like in denial up until that point that this was real labor?
Yeah. So I had like 10 contractions that were 3 minutes apart. And then they immediately jumped to a minute and a half. And that's when I went upstairs to wake up my husband. But even then, when I told him to call the midwives, I said to him, don't tell them they're a minute and a half apart. Tell them they're 3 minutes apart.
Oh my gosh, girlfriend. So you're like deep cleaning the house from like midnight till 6 a.m., contracting the entire time, singing worship songs. And at a minute and a half apart, you wake up your husband to call the midwives. And then you tell them they're 3 minutes apart.
Yeah, because I didn't want them to rush. Like, I didn't want the pressure of knowing that they were rushing.
Yes, I get that. I get that. Like, because then all of a sudden it's anxiety. It's high stakes.
Yeah.
So what happened next?
So I woke up my husband at 1:15. At 1:13, he called them at 1:15.
Okay, 1:15. I had the timeline wrong. So this happened really quick between like midnight and 1 a.m.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. And then I was just in the zone in the bedroom, like rocking, contracting, humming. Oh, you asked me what kind of mantras I was saying. The only thing that I could like wrap my head around to verbally say out loud was yes, baby. So I kept saying, yes, baby, like cheering her on in a really low voice.
I love it. I love it. So midwives are coming. Did you talk to them, or did they just go, okay, we'll be there soon?
I think my husband was on the phone on and off. He called the midwives and then he called the doula, but that was already like too much distraction. I left the bedroom and went to the nursery. I was like, I can't hear you on the phone. I need to be on my own and focused on me.
Yep. Minute and a half apart. You are concentrating, baby. And what did it feel like at this point?
Manageable. They were quick, but I still knew that like it was only 30 seconds of build up and then 30 seconds of come down. And then I had like, I guess another 30 seconds to breathe. So I still felt the rhythm and like it was totally manageable.
What ways were you coping with them? Were you still singing the worship songs?
Yes, I was humming the worship songs until I could not physically hum them anymore at the end.
I love that. I just love that. What a great technique. Some of the things like you don't learn in a birth chorus. It's just like Holy Spirit gives to you, or it feels right in that moment. And if it works, keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So you said the pain faded when you released the fear. Was that what you were sharing earlier about letting go before taking the midwives route, or did you have to release fear at different points in your labor?
Definitely at different points in my labor. So after the midwives and doula were called, he was off the phone. I went back into the bedroom, and that's when the contractions ramped up even more. I like stopped counting by then. They were just back to back. They felt back to back. And I would have like little freakouts in my mind. That's when that like tug of like fear coming in and me pushing it out and coming in and pushing it out. And at one point, I think I was like holding on to the bathroom door frame, kind of like counter pressure almost to like hold myself up. And I looked at my husband. I was like, how much longer is this going to take? And he goes, well, at least maybe an hour. And I was like, wrong answer. Don't tell me that. Like, I can only take this 1 minute at a time. Like, I cannot even think about the next minute.
That's hilarious. Wrong answer. Get out. You're fired. Don't ask questions you don't want the answer to.
Yeah.
And it wasn't an hour. It was much shorter than that. Now, your two previous births, you had an epidural, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Were there any moments where you felt like, I need to have an epidural now, or that you doubted your ability to do this naturally?
No, because I was so in the present. I could literally only think about what was happening at that time. Like there was no future thought or past worries, and none of that I didn't have any space for that.
Yeah, totally. What was going on in your mind when you were in the present moment?
I think I knew I could handle it. I knew my body was made for this, like what you say in your podcast, like all of that, all the information I took in, I kind of just regurgitated subconsciously. And that helped so much. Like it was a really strong foundation of everything I learned from your podcast. I don't think I was ever scared that I couldn't do it. It was just like, when was this going to finish?
Yeah, because it's intense, like how much longer. And I think that in those moments where it's nervous about how long it's taking, in those most intense moments, like it's kind of unfathomable to think like this could last several hours. And when you're in that place, you don't know, you don't realize, like you don't have a bird's eye view to go, oh, we're right at the end. Like this intense moment is really only 30, 40 minutes or whatever it might be. But in your mind, it's like, oh my gosh, if this lasts hours, I don't know if I could do that. But then and that's like usually right when women do get the epidural very often in the hospital, and we don't realize how close you really are. So what happened? Did you have a birth tub? Like when you were in those moments, midwives haven't even arrived yet. Like what happened next?
My husband started filling the birth tub right away, and it was literally at the foot of our bed. And I was laboring on one side of the bed, and then I started laboring on the other side, but I never got in the tub. I think I just didn't want to get wet. Like the idea of getting wet was not appealing to me at that point.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. I never heard of that. You were on the bed the whole time or at the foot of the bed?
I was just like hunched over, like using the bed to hold me up on my arms, kind of like in a plank mode. And that was the most comfortable position, was standing.
Okay. Is that where baby came?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. She came. So I ended up going to the other side of the bed wall, and like 2 feet of space, and literally the smallest, darkest corner in my house, which was kind of predicted. My midwives were like, you're probably going to give birth in the most random, like smallest, darkest place, because that's where you'll feel most safe. And this is literally where she came out. And I don't even know how my husband fit behind me, because there was literally like less than 2 feet of space Yeah.
I love, like, I'm just thinking of cats and animals that birth in the wild. Like that's so instinctual. It sounds kind of odd, but when you think about it, it's quite instinctual because that's what mammals do. They find a quiet, dark place in the wild where they're not going to be disturbed. And for someone with social anxiety, like, of course you found a quiet, dark corner in your room to like hide away in. They can come to you, but that is so instinctual. That tells me you were connected to your instincts and your intuition and found a place where you felt the most safe.
Mm-hmm.
Did you realize the baby was coming before the midwives got there? And what did you do?
There was one point I kind of became more lucid and I was like, oh no, I need to poop. And I started to beeline towards the door. And then I was like, wait, I couldn't move my legs because the fetal ejection reflex had started and her head popped out immediately. And my husband was on the phone. And he was like, well, I think her head is out. Like, he was so calm throughout the whole thing.
Wow. Good for him. Just nice and calm. No emergencies needed. What did you say? What happened?
I think he was fielding questions from them. So after her head came out, there was a pause and I had to kind of come back to my body and breathe and like almost recharge. I felt like I had to recharge really quickly before the next contraction. And he kept asking me questions and I yelled at him, like, stop asking me questions, because I just couldn't take any input at that moment. And then the next contraction came really quickly and her whole body came out in call.
Oh my gosh. So did he catch the baby while you were standing in this corner?
I was standing. I don't know how he got from over there to behind me in between those contractions, but he did. I think the midwives probably told him to put the phone down after they heard that her head was out. He made his way, like, maneuvered behind me and he caught her. When she landed on him, I think the fluid sac broke and splashed all over him. It was all over our carpet on the floor. But yeah, he caught her.
You mentioned in your story, I wasn't in control anymore. My body was doing everything on its own. What did that feel like?
I did zero pushing. There was never a thought to push at all. It was just contractions happening on its own. The reflex, I don't know, it's just like a bodily thing that happened, like a big urge to, I don't even know how to explain it. But like, there was no conscious pushing. It was just, I wasn't in control. Whatever was happening on its own magically.
Your body takes over at a certain point. Did that surprise you that this was happening, or did you just know, like, nope, baby's coming? I got to do what I got to do.
After her head came out, after I was told her head was out, I was like, wow. Like, it's just going to happen.
Wow. What happened after she came out? What did that feel like?
It was definitely a relief. And then there was a pause where I had to like come back to my body again.
Yes.
And then I was kind of waiting for her to cry because my previous two cried so loud immediately, but she kind of waited. And I also knew, I think from your podcast, like, it's okay for that lull when baby is just coming to her own and finding her breath. Like, there's no need to panic. My husband didn't panic, thank goodness, but he kind of just held her behind me and we waited. And I remember looking back and then she let out this tiniest of whimpers. And I was like, okay, everything is good now.
Wow. Yeah. It's so physiological that moms and babies have to take a moment to come back into their body to recalibrate. I mean, you're in another realm. Your birth hormones have you in another place. And it's so hard to describe, but it's very normal. And sometimes we rush that moment in the hospital, even at home. Midwives will rub the baby down and stimulate the baby and throw the baby on your chest. And what a gift that no one was there to do that. I'm not saying your midwives would have disrupted your birth, but it is quite common to just have the things we do be protocol without even thinking. Like, we kind of go into this automatic mode, like boom, 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 got to make sure baby's stimulated, baby's breathing. And we do need to make sure baby's breathing, but if they look good, if their tone is good, if they're moving and all of that, they're conscious, they're alert, they'll take the breath. Maybe they need some assistance. Maybe they need some help clearing their lungs, but my goodness, give them a moment. And what a gift that you had that moment, that no one rushed you. And so your husband's just holding baby. You said they were born on
behind
call.
Me. Yeah.
Behind you. You're coming too. Like, that probably felt so surreal. Mm-hmm. And what happened next?
So after she let out the whimper, I think we both kind of took a breath, and then he just slowly passed her to me through my legs, and I scooped her up, like still attached to the umbilical cord and everything. I walked around the bed to my side and got in bed and just held her for half an hour and waited for the midwives to come.
Wow. So it was half an hour still before they came?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So you must have called them like right before she was born.
I think they lived an hour away. So they got in the car immediately when they were called.
So they were still half an hour out when she came. What did that feel like for you? You got your unintentionally unassisted home birth, which you secretly wanted.
I loved it. It was so calm. We just hung out. She did start crying eventually, like at the top of her lungs, and she would not stop, which was also different from my 2 previous births because they were epidural babies. They came out crying and then they just immediately became sleepy and were so quiet. But she was like, tell
us the difference between an epidural baby and an unmedicated baby.
My epidural babies were so calm. Like they came out crying a little bit, but immediately, like when they were on me and the next few days, they were just super sleepy, super not alert. And this baby was so alert, screaming at the top of her lungs.
Did that make you nervous?
Oh yeah, because we couldn't hear anything. Like the adults had to talk over her. But the midwives were super chill. They were like, this is normal. She's clearing her lungs because she came out so quickly.
Yeah.
Probably didn't have time to clear the fluids.
Yep, that makes sense. Yeah. And that happens in fast labors because that birth canal squeezes babies' lungs and squeezes all the fluid out of their lungs. And if it's a really fast labor or breech birth, it can happen as well because they're upside down and it doesn't squeeze out the same way. But that is common. So that makes sense. How long was she crying loudly like that? Like days or just that?
For 2 hours, 2 straight hours of like at the top of her lungs, full volume crying.
Oh my goodness. So midwives arrived and was she healthy? Like everything looked normal?
Everything was fine. They stayed for 3 hours. One of them cleaned the carpet where the sac burst for 3 hours. Literally one midwife was on her knees cleaning our carpet for 3 whole hours. And the other one was just checking on me and the baby.
Wow. Oh my goodness. I love, props to that midwife. She's on cleanup duty. My goodness. Mm. What did you feel like? What was going on in your heart during those moments you were waiting for them to arrive or afterwards?
It felt like it passed really quickly. I knew it was half an hour, but it didn't feel like it. Yeah, the time flew by really quickly. So the midwives got there and immediately a lot of chatter, like the doula, the midwives, a lot of chatter and talking and chit chat. And I almost for my next birth, if I have a next birth, I already know that I want no one to talk after I give birth to the baby.
Yeah, that's a good request. Put that on your birth plan, ladies. Little side note. How big was she?
She was pretty big. She was 9 pounds, 10 ounces and 22 inches long.
Wow, that is big. That's a big baby, especially to come out so fast. Did you tear at all?
Mm-mm. 0 tearing.
Wait a second. So you have a 9 pound, 10 ounce baby, comes out, fetal ejection response in 40 minutes of active labor and no tearing, and you're standing up.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's incredible. That is the power of the body.
Oh yeah. Now ask me how much my previous 2 babies weighed and if I tore with them.
Yes, tell us. How much did your previous 2 babies weigh?
They were 8 pounds and I tore with both I was on my back when I pushed them out.
So radically different, being in control, standing up. Did you plan to birth standing up like that?
No, nothing was planned. It's just what felt right in the moment.
Yeah. And I love hearing that this stories like this because we do so much and we feel like we spend so much mental energy trying to avoid tearing or trying to micromanage our body in that pushing phase and do all these things, even among birth professionals. Midwives are trained to support the perineum and, do certain techniques. And it's if we could just trust the physiology, the body truly knows how to protect itself when we get out of the way. And to your point, it happened faster and more probably intensely or at least more efficiently than your first two births when you're standing up and the body just ejects the baby in the fetal ejection response. You didn't push at all. You didn't have to add one hold your breath, bear down and push, and no tearing with a 9-pound, 10-ounce baby. Like, praise the Lord. The design is good.
Yeah. So my previous two, I tore and I bled for quite a lot afterwards. And I remember having to be monitored by other doctors even.
Wow.
So I was particularly worried about this home birth. Like, what if I tear? What if I need stitches? What if I bleed as much as I did in my past two births? And my midwives had zero concern. They were like, no, like, we're not concerned at all about you tearing. We're not concerned about bleeding. They just kind of knew that, I don't know, that probably wouldn't happen because I was at home.
Yeah. It happens in the medicalized births. It happens in the hospital births, much less. Not that it can't happen at home, and they are prepared for that. They have Pitocin. They come with the things they need to treat that and monitor that. But that's wonderful that they weren't stressed about it and it wasn't a concern. What was postpartum like, or bonding with your baby after this birth?
I think my postpartum recovery overall was so much quicker. I don't even know if I had a postpartum. I definitely had some lower leg feet swelling, but I bounced back. I hate that word, but I felt like I bounced back so much quicker. With the previous two, I was horizontal for a long time. And my hormones were so crazy. I don't know if it was because of all the Pitocin I got, but this time I didn't have any crazy hormones. I don't know. I was making breakfast for my kids on like day 2, which, being from a Chinese culture, we sit the month, which like we're in bed for a whole month. And I didn't feel like I needed that this time around.
That doesn't surprise me at all. When I hear pushing phases, every time that there's a physiological pushing phase where the body does all the heavy lifting and you're not straining, you're not holding your breath, you avoid so much damage to your pelvic floor. All of that swelling, all of that tearing that typically comes in a very normal vaginal birth delivery. It's completely normal to have all of that because of the way we're pushing. And when you avoid all of that, when the body takes over with the fetal ejection response and just ejects that baby, it's like you skip all that damage to your body. So swelling is less, hormones regulate immediately. You don't have the tearing you have to heal from. And that was exactly what happened to me on my third birth when I finally figured out like how to push effectively without straining, with just breathing, because I never experienced a fetal ejection response like you did. I love hearing birth stories that do, but that wasn't the case for me. And it's not for a lot of women, but when we can learn to breathe and allow our body to do all the work, I was walking around the next day, like, just like you, it didn't feel, I felt so much more energy too. And so that doesn't surprise me at all when we allow the physiological blueprint to play itself out for our bodies to do what they're designed to do. They recover so much faster. And we still need to rest. We still need to take it easy. But I love hearing the difference from one birth experience to the next, because it's not random. Like, our pushing is not random. Tearing is not random. Our postpartum recovery is not random. There are certain things we can do to set ourselves up for a smooth, easy delivery and postpartum that they just don't teach you in school or in courses. And understanding how our bodies are designed to work in that way can make your experience so much easier. And so that brings me joy that you had that you had such a better postpartum recovery too.
Mm-hmm. I expended so much less energy. Like, when I compare my 3 births, my first one was like a 30-hour labor. The second one was almost a 30-hour labor too. But the whole pushing phase, like, felt like I was at 0% by the time I was done with everything. And with this one, I just remember not feeling depleted at all. Like, I still felt like a normal person. Like, my energy was still there because I didn't have to do so much.
Yeah. What would you say to a woman who's overdue, facing possible induction, and wants a smooth, easy labor like what you're describing?
I think you can trust your gut, no matter what the pressures are being put on you to take scans, do whatever. Like, trust your gut, be in tune with your body, and just, the fear does not have to be part of it. Like, your body knows what to do. You can trust your body. You can trust that baby also knows what to do to come out of you. And even if you're late, like, there's probably a reason. I kept telling myself, I was like, there's a reason she's in there. She's just not ready. And when she's ready, she'll come out. Like, I'm not going to let you rush her. I'm not going to rush her. It's just going to happen.
Yeah. You said you learned so much through the Pain Free Birth podcast. What was one thing that clicked that you felt like made the biggest difference in your birth?
I think there was one quote. I think you might have said it, and I even printed it out. It was, "You're being summoned to the peak of the mountain. It's going to take every cell of your body letting go." Not like every cell of your body pushing her out. Like every cell letting go was the biggest thing. I think leading up to labor, all of the mental work I put in was letting go. Like everything was about releasing and letting go and softening and opening up and just trying to connect within myself.
And what a different energy that is, huh? And what a different birth experience it produced. Amazing. What did this experience teach you about yourself as a mother or as a woman that you learned what was your takeaway from this birth?
I think I don't have to listen to anyone else to know what I know about myself. I'm the type of person who needs to gather all the information and like get all the facts and then decide what I feel is true for myself. And now I'm like, I can just tune into my own body and think about how I feel and think about what I want and how I want this to play out versus amassing so much knowledge and like figuring out what is my truth. I think I learned that if I just kind of turn inwards, I know what my truth is and I don't need to filter it through everything.
Wow. Like it's like that need to know everything or control the outcome. It's like you tuned into a higher power, that higher intuition in yourself. Is there anything that you would share with women preparing for birth who are believing for a beautiful, redeeming birth or a pain-free birth any wisdom you would pass on to them that you'd want them to know?
I think there's a lot of strength in the vulnerability of telling people what you want. I think that it was hard for me to vocalize what I wanted. That was something I really had to practice throughout this pregnancy, like telling the midwives what I wanted to do, what tests I wanted to take, what I didn't want to take, like being able to say, thank you for the information. Thank you for the facts and the statistics. I understand your concern, but I do not want to do this. That was a big thing for me to be able to lean into my truth. And there's like a certain vulnerability in telling people what you want. Like I feel very vulnerable when I tell people what I want, because I'm just not used to doing that. But practicing that helped me so much.
I love that. What a testimony of finding your voice and the perfect time to do it when you're in motherhood. And yeah, that's beautiful. Pinsi, thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for just the wisdom and the testimony, because I believe this is going to serve so many women. And if you're listening right now and you were encouraged by this, please drop us a review. Let us know. Message Pinsi, DM me, and let us know how this encouraged you and what you're praying for in your birth. And we're going to agree with you in that. And I just pray that exactly what you need, that the birth you need, that the revelation you need, the wisdom you need would be so close, and the Holy Spirit would be so close to you in your upcoming births as you prepare. So with that, we'll see you guys next week.